What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to TCG Madness. My name is Philip, and yes, it's time now to go over the Ordris heroes. And once we do this, by the way, this will finally conclude all the heroes and all the factions for Altered TCG. Ordris is the last faction and the last group of heroes that I will have to build decks for. Once I do that, I will have successfully built a deck for every hero in every faction for Altered TCG before their new set comes out. So there's plenty of content there. If you want to take a look at all that, you can head over to like my playlist and check out all the Altered TCG playlists, and you will see all the decks that I have built. I'll also leave a link at the end of this video of that exact playlist, so you can click on it if you choose to, or maybe if you just want to go over there right now and take a look at it, you can. Absolutely. After these next two heroes of Orders, I will have successfully built a deck for every hero. So this is awesome. So again, if you have been enjoying all this type of content, especially the Altered TCG content and stuff like that, please do me a big favor right now. Hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to also hit the notification bell so you guys never miss when I drop a video. Comment down below what was your favorite deck, what your favorite faction is, and also to comment down below what are you most excited about with the new set coming out January 31st. There's a lot to get into with that new set, and I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown. I'm also going to do some gameplay footage, finally, of Altered TCG once I have successfully gone through these last two heroes for Ordris. So, the deck we have today is a Waru Mack. You can see the title of this deck. It's Politically Asleep. It has to do with the theme is asleep and, you know, the bureaucrats, stuff like that, which if you're familiar with Waru Mack, again, Ordris is the one faction that I least likely can care about, but you know, like I said, we're going to go through all. I said I was going to go through all of them. We're going to go through all of them. So I think I have built a decent deck, a good enough deck for this hero. So like all the other videos, if you guys want to pause right now, you can take a look at the deck itself and see how I built it. Again, if you agree or disagree, comment down below. I'd love to hear from some of you guys. We'll also go through the hero first. Then I'll go through all the cards individually like I do in every video. And then we'll dive into the stats. And then if you don't like the direction of this deck, I have built a sideboard of about 15 cards or so that you can swap in and out a little bit differently. But for this deck, I really do think out of a lot of the decks that we built, I usually try to put like a nice little spin on the deck. For this deck though, it really is pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and get into the hero and what he does and why I think this deck is pretty straightforward. It's Waru and Mack. It's a Ordris hero. Pretty standard, right? 2 reserve, 2 landmarks. He has the ability at noon, if you control one or more bureaucrats, create an Ordris, recruit 1/1/1 soldier token in target expedition. That's pretty cool. So you can pick either your hero or your companion. Of course, you do have to have a bureaucrat, which again, like Ordris, it's pretty straightforward. They always want to create these little 1/1/1 tokens, which, you know, pretty cool. Not my favorite though, but okay. And then it does have the ability though, when you play a bureaucrat, you may have it gain asleep. During dusk, ignore its statistics during rest. It doesn't go to the reserve and it loses asleep. Asleep is like pseudo anchor in this game where it gives you the ability to try to, like, you know, play something. You still get the ability that reads on the card. You just don't get any of the stats. And then you put it to sleep and it basically will stay for another go around. So that's pretty cool. So if you have something that's really powerful, you want to stick on the board for another day or two, pretty much you're going to put it to sleep and it'll stick there. So again, pretty much straightforward is why I named this deck Politically Asleep. You can see we're going to have two things with this deck where we need bureaucrats and we need lots of stuff to be able to put to sleep. And when we put these things to sleep, we want to be able to gain the most of that card ability. Not its stats, the ability. So what does that actually entail? Well, here's the deck itself. Again, if you want to pause it, take a look at it. You guys can immediately let me know how you guys feel about this deck in the comments section. Love to hear from some of you guys. I will go through now all the cards individually and why I put them in the deck. For the record too, I would really like to see this website eventually, like once you build a deck and you go to the deck list, I wish they would have like all the ones here, the twos here. Like I wish it was all in numerical order, and I wish it automatically did it for you. Hopefully in the future that's something that they can do, but again, here we are with this deck. Starting off, we have one copy of the rare, the Frog Prince. He is a 1/1 character, bureaucrat noble. He's really just in here because we need to round out our ones, and he is a bureaucrat, so we get a nice little 1/1 for 2/02. We also have the generic version of the Frog Prince right here for a 2/2. The Frog Prince character, bureaucrat noble, 3/03. Again, I got one rare and one of the common versions. Again, I just wanted to round out my ones just a little bit. Next up, we have Ordris Attorney. It's a 2/2 for a bureaucrat for a 2s across the board. When my expedition fails to move forward during dusk, draw a card. Again, you could put this asleep. You'll still get that ability right there. So if you fail trying to advance or something like that, well, guess what? You at least get something for that failure. You'll actually be able to draw a card. And again, as a TCG player, who doesn't love to draw on cards, you know? Next up, we have Quetzalcoatl. This is pretty much your bread and butter card. This guy and another card that we will go over is pretty much the core of your deck. You do need 3 copies of Quetzalcoatl. Playing Quetzalcoatl is basically like playing 4D chess. It's fun, and it really just messes with your opponent. So for a 3/3, 3 out of your hand, 3 out of your reserve, 3s across the board. So we got 3s everywhere. When an opponent draws 1 or more cards or does a resupply, create a 1/1/1 soldier token target expedition. This is a card you want to put to sleep because every time your opponent draws or resupplies, you're going to create one of those 1/1 Orgris recruit tokens that Orgris just wants to create in general. That's its bread and butter as a faction. It wants to create those tokens. He's a bureaucrat, so if you play him, put him to sleep, and then you just want that ability, you want that tax ability as much as possible. Again, every time your opponent's going to try, because again, as a TCG player, I just said, who doesn't like drawing cards? Drawing cards is a staple in just about every TCG game. It's also one of the most popular things to do. It's also the most powerful thing to do in a trading card game, right? Drawing cards, going through your decks. You build a deck, and if sometimes you're looking for an answer, if you're just getting the most powerful cards, what are you going to do? You're going to draw a lot of cards. Well, Quetzalcoatl basically says, like, hey, listen, if you're going to draw all those cards, you're going to resupply in this game, guess what? I'm going to tax you to death and just create a bunch of 1/1/1 recruit tokens. So really, really, really good card. This is a card you definitely want to see in your opening hand for sure. Next up, we have the rare Isekoi. Again, it's a character, bureaucrat, deity. It's a 5/5 for 3s across the board. Your other expeditions and expeditions facing it can't move forward. Again, another good target to put asleep because you still gain that ability. So maybe if you want to, stymie your opponent a little bit, it's a pretty good card. 1 copy of this one is all you pretty much need. Next up, we also have 3 copies of the Orgris Trooper, 1/1 for 1s across the board. Again, it's a great card to play for turn 1. If you have 1 mana left over, it's a good one. It just does the job. It's also good for passing priority and then basically just throwing that down and letting your opponent then, counter that. So that's why I also have the Frog Prince too, just kind of round out those ones a little bit. Next up, we have 3 copies of the regular Monolith Legate, 2/2 for a 2/1/2. When my expedition fails to move forward during dusk, sabotage after rest. So again, more things that basically just say, like, if I fail, another good target for a sleep, but not the best one, but it's a good target for a sleep. We also have Ozma, character noble, 2/2 for a 1/2/1. If you control 3 or more characters, draw a card, which is really easy, by the way, in a Orgris deck. It's going to create a ton of tokens. Next up, this is where I try to put just a little bit of my spin on this one too. This is the Sandman. It's an out-of-faction rare, 3/2 for 0/3/3. Up to 1 target character gains a sleep. You may have it gain 2 boosts. Now, in past decks that I've built, when I actually put this card in a deck, it's actually to put your opponent's card to sleep and not give it those 2 boosts. Maybe there's something on your opponent's side of the board. For this deck, I actually do think you're going to target yourself a lot, obviously. Also, gaining those 2 boosts is really, really good in this deck because, again, there's a lot of good targets like Quetzalcoatl. Now he becomes a 5/5, and you're still getting all that tax out of this ability right here. So very, very good. Again, maybe you put him to sleep using your hero, then you play the Sandman. You get Quetzalcoatl a lot. The only thing though is, again, you got to remember when you're putting something to sleep, you do not gain any of these statistics. So again, use it wisely. Next up, we have 1 copy of the regular Orgris Spy, 3/2 for a 2/2/2, Sabotage. Again, nice little card right there. And we do have the 1 rare version of the Orgris Spy because I do like the rare version because, again, when you play it out of your reserve, you get to create a 1/1/1 soldier token. I just like this card because of the Sabotage. Again, really good way to just mess with your opponent's side of the board. I do think, obviously, if you had, really good uniques, these are the cards you probably take out immediately, as well as maybe like the Frog Prince or maybe 1 copy of the Orgris Trooper. Next up, we also have the Council, 4/4 across the boards. All abilities facing this character can't activate. Really good card. Just basically tell your opponent, hey, you want to do this, but that, nope, you're not doing any of that stuff. Like, again, a really, really good card. Just absolutely stop your opponent from doing things. 2 copies of this one is really all you need because, again, it's not really the card you generically want to see. The other card you want to see a lot is this guy right here, Robin Hood. This is also another great target for a sleep. Robin Hood, 4/4, 3/2/2. Cards your opponent play can't cost less than 2. It's a great way to just tax your opponent to death again. This card and Quetzalcoatl are your bread and butter right here. They're the peanut butter and jelly of this sandwich. They're the cards that really get this deck humming. And again, they are bureaucrats, so that really, really works really well with your hero. The other 2 copies of characters we have in this is the Isekoi, the regular version, 6/6, 4/4/4. Again, I already stated your other expeditions facing it can't move forward. Big body, big card, just, stuff that we like to see. For the spells, I didn't put too many spells because here's the thing, when you play something with a lower mana curve, you really don't want to brick your hand. So again, I don't recommend doing 3 copies of the spells because again, I think just a couple of these copies is good enough for your deck. We have 2 copies of Charge, 2/2. Characters you control gain a boost. Again, pretty good there. Next up, we also have Teamwork Training. Send to reserve target character with a hand cost of X or less, where X is the number of characters you control. Good for just getting rid of those big bodies or smaller guys as well. And then we also have the Sticky Note Seals. 3/3. Choose one. Send to reserve target character with a hand cost of 4 or more, or discard target permanent with a hand cost of 4 or more. This, again, if your opponent goes wide, teamwork. If your opponent goes tall, Sticky Note Seals. Again, you don't need a whole lot, you just need just a couple of them in your deck. For permanents, we actually have 1 copy of the Rare Bountiful Metal. This is also another target if you want to just scratch this card. Totally understandable. It's a 2/2. The next Bureaucrat you play costs 1 less. We do have, I think, 20 Bureaucrats in this deck, so it's a pretty good card to have. The bread and butter of every Ordre's deck is this permanent right here. It's Ordre's Carrier. 3/3 at noon, create a token. And then, of course, I also went with 2 copies of the Monolith Ordre's Bastion. When a character joins your expedition, it gains a boost. Just 2 copies. I don't think you need any more because I think if you do put any more, you run the risk of bricking your hand with permanents and spells and very little characters. So that's the deck itself. Let me know what you guys think. For the stats, really good stats here. We have 63 forests, 60 in the mountains, 66 in the ocean. I think out of all the decks, this is the most, deck with the most parity. We're really right there in the 60s. No one's outgaining each other. They're all pretty much right there in the middle, right next to each other. Really good. So 63, 60, 60. Pretty good. Hand and reserve cost right there where you want to be. A little bit of 1s, and then the 2s and 3s are pretty much what you always kind of want to see. We have a 4, 5, and a 6, but not many of those cards. And then we have 6 spells, 6 permanents, 28 characters. Pretty good, I think, deck that this is built. I think, again, if you want a deck that can really just kind of mess with your opponent a lot and really tax them, and just you want to play a long game of Altered TCG, I think Waru Mack is definitely a good deck to play with. As you guys can see, everything's legal except for all cards owned and Global Vitality. So again, I'm meeting Altered TCG's standards. So that is the deck itself. Let me know what you guys think. Again, if you like this type of deck, give it a thumbs up. Really would appreciate that. Also, too, comment if you agree or disagree. What would you change a little bit about this deck? Let me know. We're now going to shift over the focus to the sideboard if you want to take this deck in a little bit of a different direction. So here are the cards that I would sideboard. The first couple of cards that I would sideboard is obviously a rare, 2 copies of the Rare Council. I do think that if you want a little bit of a cheaper reduction cost for 3/3 across the board, I do think the Council is a very underrated card in this deck. And I definitely think if you're going up against certain opponents, I definitely do think this card is a must to put in your deck. The other card I also thought about putting in this deck is the out of faction rare Baba Yaga. If you want to draw a little bit more, look no further than Baba Yaga. Pretty staple there. The other card too is Verdenbach, is a good sideboard character as well. 4/4 for a 5/5/6, so he gives you a big boost in your stats. He also would be a good character to put asleep with Sandman because I have Defender unless you control 2 or more Bureaucrats. We have plenty of Bureaucrats in this deck, but you may not have 2 or more. So he also would be a good character target for Sandman to put asleep, and then maybe if you next turn get a couple of those cheap Bureaucrats out, and then maybe Verdenbach is activated. So pretty good card there. And then, of course, if you do go up against an Ordre's opponent yourself, or maybe even Axiom, I do think the Kraken is definitely worth taking a look at, maybe sideboarding. Not putting in the deck, but definitely sideboarding for this deck as well. The 7/7/0/0/8, it has Gigantic, and it has Sacrifice 2 characters. All regions are water and lose their other types. So again, if you have an opponent who goes wide and you need to just outmaneuver real fast, Kraken definitely has got your back. Other things I would also sideboard is the rare Teamwork Training. For a 3/3, you actually get to create an Ordre's token, and you still get that sweet ability from that spell. And then also 3 copies of Open the Gates. It's a 5/5 spell, create 4 Ordre's tokens. So if you do want to go wide with the Bureaucrats, I do think this card probably needs to get slotted in. That is the sideboard. Again, let me know what you guys think of Waru and Mack. We have now officially 1 more Ordre's hero to go over, and we are all done making a deck for every single hero and every faction for Altered TCG. Looking forward to it. Again, if you guys have enjoyed this, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. This is a channel dedicated to all things TCG. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little Altered TCG deck building that I've been doing. Again, if you have, comment down below what else would you like to see, what would you do maybe a little bit differently, and what you guys are looking forward to for the new set coming out for Altered TCG January 31st. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. See you guys next time.